Women, the force of the universe that actively and passively controls everything. Well, that's a nice thing to say, but generally compliments to women are used against them, to control them, to undermine them. But how presumptuous can I be in thinking that men run the world? Women are dominant in probably most circumstances, so how is it that sexism in the workplace is still an issue? Women are doctors, lawyers, superintendents, TV producers. They have a lot of control. I'm going to say that sexism today is dead, but we'll see if my guests agree or disagree. This is Counterpoint with Gerard McClendon.
Even in the nonprofit world, a world we sometimes think of as being led by more women, women at the top, 20%. We also have another problem, which is that women face harder choices between professional success and personal fulfillment. A recent study in the US showed that of married senior managers, 2/3 of the married men had children, and only 1/3 of the married women had children.
Thank you for watching Counterpoint. Call us at 844-777-9311. Hey, send me a tweet or a Facebook comment to Gerard MC at the Counterpoint Today, executive producer and host of Case Files, Lisette Guillen, and the superintendent of Sauk Village Community Schools, Dr. Donna Simpson-Leak. Welcome, ladies, to the Counterpoint.
Thank you.
You know, I opened the show by saying that sexism is dead, but we see this wonderful soundbite from Facebook's COO, Sheryl Sandberg, extremely powerful woman, all right? And she's saying that sexism still exists. So ladies, is sexism over? Talk to me.
First of all, it's absolutely not over. And she is a perfect example in the fact that she's in that role and she's still talking about what we have to deal with on a regular basis, where people look at us as women and have certain expectations, and when we don't live to their expectations, but instead exceed to the ones that we can accomplish, there's always some undertone to it.
Undertone, perceptions, expectations. Lisette, do they still exist?
You know, as far as sexism in the workplace, I don't see it too often, but I think that goes back, Gerard, to every individual and their circumstance. I'll tell you personally, I've walked into some of it. But the key is to get rid of it, nip it in the bud right away, because you're there to do a job and you're there to get it done, and you're there to get it done professionally. So I think a lot of that has to do with the way a person handles it going into that position.
How do you know something is sexism, though? How do you know that if someone treats you out of pocket, it's not just you? How do you know, Dr. Leak, that people are being sexist?
Well, sometimes it's in what they actually say. The fact of the matter is we still live in a society where people think it's okay to say certain items. And in my experience, where I had a male school board member tell me that I needed to be home taking care of my husband and my babies as opposed to being in this big old job, as he called it. And so that actually motivated me, though, because I thought, wow, so I have the capacity to not only take care of my home, but I have the capacity to do the work that I'm doing. So it actually motivated me. But those kinds of things happen, and unfortunately in our country right now, it seems like it's okay for people to say things like that.
Open season on women. Lisette, you know, the person on the school board told Dr. Lee, you should be at home taking care of your babies and your husband. It's 2016. I mean, where does that comment come from?
And that's a lot of it. I mean, a lot of it is people that just aren't open-minded. They're not there. They're not seeing where this world is going. The world is certainly changing, and we got to change with it. Those people obviously are stuck. I want to add to that level, though, and mention that we as women also have to deal with the racial part of it. And I say that because, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, it's easy for, you know, you just go in a position, but it's harder when you're also a woman of color. And that is difficult sometimes, even from our own. A good example I'll give you guys is I was at an event one time, me and my film crew, and it was a social event, and a woman says to me, And it was a woman, which made it even worse. And she says, so what do you do? Well, I work with a television show. Oh, so are you the secretary? Which really was hurtful. And now my film crew got a great laugh out of it. They thought it was funny because they're thinking, oh, let me see how she's going to respond. However, you take those things like a grain of salt because you don't, want to confront those people with, how stupid their comment was.
Good point. And see, here's the thing. There's nothing wrong.
There's nothing wrong with being the secretary.
Absolutely.
In fact, secretaries are probably the most powerful people, in corporate America. But it was the assumption. She didn't assume that you were the producer.
That's right.
Which happens so often.
Oh, I get that all the time when people will say to me, "So you work in the school district? Now, what do you do there?" And I'll say, "Oh, I'm the superintendent of schools." And they'll say, "Really? Almost like you?" I know. I can't. Wow.
So Dr. Donna Simpson-Leak, what do you think people expect in their mind when they think of a superintendent?
Oh, an older white gentleman. I will say it's very clear because when I go to my conferences in the state of Illinois, we have almost 900 school districts. And so when I walk into the room where they have a superintendent meeting, there might be a handful of, especially African American women. There may be like 5 or 6 of us, and maybe 400 white older men in navy blue suits.
Yeah.
And that's just the framework. That is what that particular pasture looks like.
It's similar in television, isn't it? Where, especially when it comes to the producer, the person that makes the machine go. Many times that person doesn't look like you, Lisette.
You're right, and I want to also add that it's a double hit because not only is it television, it's also law enforcement. So now you're putting together 2 careers that almost it creates a perfect storm almost for people to just visualize what they think it should be. Yeah. So when you've got the law enforcement side where there's mostly males, and then the television side, which is mostly males, and then you factor in, we're going to throw a Latino right in the mix. That's a good times, right?
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. I'm so glad that the 2 of you are in the mix today because here's the thing. Some people watching this show have never seen a producer that looks like you, have never seen a superintendent that looks like you. And so, once again, ladies, sexism is over. So, I'm going to keep saying that today. Let me throw this at you, though. Do you think chivalry should be dead? All right? Do you think that men, since you want to be equal, I'm going to stop opening doors for you? Well, since you want to be equal and all that.
Chivalry is not what I'm talking about in the workplace. Chivalry is about manners. And I grew up in the South. And so in my mind, you opening the door for me if I'm going out with my husband, I don't expect you to open the door for me at the office, though. When I walk into the office, I open my own door.
Okay.
I'm good with that. Okay. But if my husband and I, if we're going out, I do expect him to have some chivalrous behavior towards me as his wife. And that's manners.
See,
Dr. Lee, she just told me off. She said, I can open my own door.
When I walk in the office, and if somebody opens the door for me, I think that is a very nice gesture. But that's about manners. That's not about being equal or unequal.
So are manners about gender, though? Do manners have gender evaluation to them?
I expect females to have a more gentle mannerism than a male in certain circumstances.
Wow.
Yeah, but when I'm at work, when I'm in this seat as a superintendent of schools, I am managing my business. When I'm out with my husband in a social, and I'm very clear, when I'm in a social setting with him, I manage myself as his wife.
Absolutely.
But that's the role that we wear as women.
And I think too, I like where you're going with that because as a professional in the workforce, going out to social events, you still, especially holding titles such as superintendent, television producers, whatever your title is, you need to handle yourself accordingly so that you're considered professional all the way around. You can't be one way here and then outside in front of everybody, you're somebody totally different. Belligerence, that is one thing I'm always very careful of is when I'm in a social setting, I'm still representing what I need to represent.
Yes, yes. So let's talk about labor unions. We see some serious things happening in the Chicago public schools where it could be a possible or imminent strike. We see that, you know, Forrest Claypool and Emanuel and the rest of the people at Chicago Public Schools have decided to lay off 1,000 workers. Basically, there's this tug of war taking place where it's like, okay, since you won't take either the pay cut or contribute more to your pension, we'll just cut more workers. So there's this tug of war between Chicago Public Schools and the teachers union. This is what's interesting. You have men trying to control and dominate the political situation, but most of the workers are female. So, wow, this is... Do you think that the feminization or so-called, quote, feminization of jobs places a burden on how women are perceived and looked upon in the workplace when it comes to the salary that they make and possibly getting their job cut?
So the interesting thing, you brought up education in particular. And one of the things that we struggle with, because I have 2 unions that I work with myself. And one of the things that we try to focus on is what is our common interest and then build out from there. Yeah. Because that is the only way that you can actually manage that. But you are right. I am superintendent in an elementary school district. My teachers earn less than teachers in a high school district. The rationale is in Illinois, when it was first started, most of the teachers at elementary level were women. Most of the high school teachers were men. So we now have this construct that we have to deal with, and it is very clearly, it was based on the gender of those persons who were in those unions at that time.
Oh man.
And that goes back 100 years. I mean, so we're still fighting a battle that was essentially set up over 100 years ago.
Yeah, this is...
I'm telling you, as a superintendent, I don't even make the same salary as a male superintendent in a similar circumstance.
We got to change that.
Right here.
And do you think that's because of the district or because of the board, or do you think that's because you're a female?
A lot of times when women go in to negotiate their contracts, there is the perception of, well, she has a husband, he can take care of her. So we have to go in, we don't get to go in with the perception that a man does, that he's the head of the household.
Yeah.
We don't get to go in with that. So even though we may have more credentials, we may be more qualified, we walk in the door still with that perception that, well, she's not the head of her household.
And they'll start putting stipulations on you or adding more criteria because you're a female.
Yes.
Hold tight, ladies. People shutting women out of jobs, or do they shut themselves out of jobs? We're going to be back with more of Lisette Guillen and Donna Simpson-Leak on The Counterpoint. Let's look at some comments from Facebook. Fratangela Hargrove says, women with children think about family dynamics, being a great employee, mother, wife, and leader. We have more burdens than men. Jan Reynolds says, I got a major promotion, Gerard, but I had to discuss whether to take it with my family. Men don't think about stuff like this. They would just take the promotion. Hey, I want to thank you all for your comments. We'll be back in a moment. Tweet me, post on Instagram, or send me a message on Facebook. Let's start the conversation. Your voice is important on Counterpoint.
Women do not negotiate for themselves in the workforce. A study in the last 2 years of people entering the workforce out of college showed that 57% of boys entering, or men, I guess, are negotiating their first salary, and only 7% of women. And most importantly, men attribute their success to themselves and women attribute it to other external factors. If you ask men why they did a good job, they'll say, I'm awesome. If you ask, obviously, why are you even asking? If you ask women why they did a good job, what they'll say is someone helped them, they got lucky, they worked really hard.
Wow, welcome back to Counterpoint. Our guests are executive producer and host of Case Files, Lisette Guillen, and the superintendent of Sauk Village Community Schools, Dr. Donna Simpson-Leak. Leak. Welcome back, ladies. I appreciate you sticking around. Wow, so men just think they're all that, and then women apologize. Isn't that interesting? So when or ever, ladies, did you stop apologizing for being like the superwoman that you are, to use a sexist term, all right? Because so often women will say, I'm sorry, can I help you with that? And if women are smarter than the men in the room, they'll make excuses. Where does that come from? Is that inbred? Do you get that from growing up as a girl? What happens?
I think as women, we're conditioned to be more empathetic and to, feel and empathize with other people. However, there's a big difference in the type of career you're going into. In my position, there is no room for apology. There is no time for going out and catching murderers and saying, I'm sorry, but we're out to get you. There's none of that here. On the flip side, when we deal with families, victims, families, they're already hurt, we do have to have that empathy. And that is where I'm very, fortunate. I feel very fortunate to be a woman in that condition because, men, face it, we're made differently. We're made up differently emotionally, the way we think and everything. So when those certain times come up where you have to be empathetic and sympathize with the family, I'm appreciative of those female skills that I have in me.
Yeah. So empathy is very important, but is there a fine line, Dr. Leak, between empathy and weakness?
Well, and I think what happens I think it starts with little girls, that there is sort of that systemic understanding of what it means to be a girl and what it means to be a boy. And then as you get older and you start to figure out, well, gee, I think I can do some of these same things myself. But I also think what we possess that men don't necessarily possess is when we empathize, it's not a sign of weakness, it's actually a sign of strength. Because I can sit back and I can see that there are males around me who need to feel a certain way in order for them to feel empowered. So I can still get what I need to get done while helping them to feel like they are getting empowered.
Wait a minute,
Absolutely.
Wait a minute. So now that's psychology.
Absolutely.
Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
They said you want to chime in on that because, wait. Now we're talking about, wow. So there are things that you can say and do as women to, men are always, so men feel like they're in power, but sometimes you have to say something so that they can feel like they're in power.
And it's not only that, in my profession, we have to get things done. So I don't really have time to fool around with everybody's egos and who needs to feel this and feel that. So what I have to do is I have to put things in place so that if it's that this particular male needs to feel like he was the one who came up with this idea, let's do that. Because if at the end of the day we're going to get where we need to get to, then that's for me the ultimate in terms of my work that I'm doing. But there's times when I know it needs to be that it came directly from me.
Yeah.
But what I have learned is it helps when other people recognize that it came from you and turn around and say, well, you know what, we didn't actually do this. This came from Dr. Leak. And it's an empowering moment for everybody who's involved. I just think as women, because we have that sort of insight and that capacity to be empathetic, to sort of read people and figure out what we need to do in order to make things happen, I personally view it as a strength. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you lead, so you two ladies lead, you produce, you come into situations where if there are problems, you have to create a solution or you have to solve the problem. So when doing that, is there ever any animosity with people who have egos who don't necessarily want you to be the decision maker? What do you do with that situation, Lisa?
I think, I totally agree, with Dr. And, it's adding on to that, sometimes people need to be taken down a couple notches.
Oh, wow.
And that, that's instilled in us. We're motherly, we're, women, we're sisters, we're all that, we're daughters. So we're very strong anyways, and men tend to put up these brick walls and be very strong, and that's just the way they're made up. And sometimes, those walls need to be broken down a little bit. and just, okay, we're going to get on the same level. I don't need you up here when we're down here. Bring your 10 down.
Do you empathize with women who are in employment positions that aren't as powerful as the positions the two of you are in? All right. So I'm feeling a lot of confidence on this panel today.
Yeah.
Your positions are unbelievably powerful, but there are women that may work for you or with you, and there are women who don't have the credentials that the two of you have, and they may be discriminated against more so because they are women, and women in employment positions that aren't as powerful as yours. So where does your empathy lie with those women? What do you do to help them? Or
I feel like it's my responsibility to help them.
Yeah.
If there is a female in my organization, I'm going to do everything possible to help her take on leadership roles, whatever they might be at whatever level, because it's my belief that I am at this moment where I am today because I had a female superintendent during the third year of my teaching career who looked at me and said, you need to be an administrator and I'm going to push you. And not only will you be an administrator, but you need to be well renowned around the country for what you do. And she pushed me and said, I'm going to push and pull even though you may not see the capacity in yourself. So I feel like it's my responsibility to do that for other females. I take on mentors. If we don't do it for each other, there's no man out there who's going to say, "Ooh, Lisette, let me help you." I mean, there might be, but really, it's up to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lisette, when did you know that you were a producer? When did you know in your heart, this is what I need to do as it pertains to creating great television that's going to help people, and I need to be the alpha in the room that makes this happen? When did you know that?
I found that out really early when here's my example. Chicago PD is our home agency, and there has never been, I shouldn't say never, but there hasn't been a television show that has been able to get into these homicide files the way we have. They've tried it. Other television stations have tried it. My male counterparts in the other cities that run those shows have tried it. They gave up on Chicago. And I wanted it. And I said, well, I want it. I want Chicago really bad. And so in order to get what I wanted, I had to work really hard. And I realized it when I sat, in downtown Chicago, in the top floor of, one of the largest buildings, and there was mostly men sitting around me, and I said, we're in Chicago PD. How did you do it? And I worked. I got in there. That's when I knew. And the respect that immediately came from the table, like, wow. You did it. And then the support they came after that was like, I've got it, now I've got to take care of it.
What do you say to young ladies, who are being discouraged in mathematics classes, who are told to increase your vocabulary but don't worry about the sciences, who aren't encouraged to go into STEM careers or television production or the superintendency? What do you tell the 8-year-old girl, the 10-year-old, the teenager? What do you tell them?
And I'm sure, Doctor will be able to talk more on, especially educationally, but we love to have the young ones because we need more. I need to see, for my own self, I need to see more young girls come in. I need to see more, girls of color come in and see this. That makes me happy. So that, I do strive for that, to bring them in. I don't care how young they are. I want them to see the process from the little, because it gives them something to dream about. It gives them a goal.
The process.
The process,
For me, I use myself as a role model. I grew up in Georgia, and I was very much the girl who was I was a cheerleader. I was supposed to be the homecoming queen. I was sitting in the back of my math class, not really participating, but I was able to do it all. I had a teacher who said, you know what, you need to move to the front. Ultimately, I ended up getting my undergrad degree in mathematics. So I have a degree in math.
Wow.
I started out teaching high school math. And so when people say to me, oh, I don't know if they can do it, I use myself as a prime example. I was in the South, African-American female. There's no way in the world that anybody would have expected that I'd have a degree in mathematics. And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
You know what's crazy? Women, girls K through 12 get the highest grades.
Yes.
But when they enter the workforce, they get the lowest pay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so true.
How are you, I only got about a minute, 2 minutes left. Ladies, how do we change that? I know we're trying to save the world here. You know, it's trying to do girl power. We're trying to go Beyonce formation. But how do we change that paradigm? That's a weird paradigm.
Yeah.
I think that part of it is that as a country, we have to, as women in this country, we have to start to stand up for ourselves. And I'll give you a prime example, Simone Biles. That young woman is the best gymnast this world has ever seen. She has to get the same lucrative deals that every other Olympic athlete receives. And until we start to stand up and demand that, then it's going to be impossible for us to really see that change. It comes from us. We have to start to demand it.
We have to demand it.
Yeah.
Lisette, we have to demand it.
Absolutely. You have to. You've got to demand it, because if not, they're not going to take you seriously. And especially when we have those other factors, you know, already behind us.
Serena Williams talked about that a few years ago.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm dominant in this sport.
Absolutely.
And men are still getting paid more. This doesn't make sense. She's like, the bigger crowds come to see me, not the man.
Right.
Why do they have the bigger
That's
endorsements? Of course, that's changed since.
But we have to also emphasize our buying power, because as women, we spend the most money.
Right.
We have a tremendous amount of buying power. We have to capitalize on that.
Wow. 70% of all purchases are from a woman.
Absolutely.
And so women have to start in the cliche doing it for themselves and have to start looking at the power that they have. Wow. Ladies, I really appreciate you being with me. This is fantastic. We got to continue this talk later. Hey, we have a long way to go, but women are stepping up big time. Sadly, we still harbor silent, clandestine, negative feelings against women, and their progress can be hindered by women as well as men. Let's try to get out of our own way and realize who runs the world. Girls. Well, women. Hey, thank you for watching CounterPoint. Stay positive. I need you to keep your head up and always be encouraged to voice your counterpoint. Have a great week.